Time for another random vlog, I guess about health because, I was, doing at cancer doctor checking up with other things. And, I just had this sort of like keen realization while I was at the hospital. I was like, holy shit, dude, it is 2024 and I have been doing this shit for over 20 years. And I was just like, I said it was so many years ago that I actually started having nightmares. And I started, well, not started having nightmares. I started having nightmares about my brother. And in the nightmares, my brother was old. And, they're scary nightmares. And like, you kind of like wake up like, oh man, like scary nightmares. But in my dreams, I should say, I realized that my brother is getting older. And if my brother is getting older, then I'm really goddamn fucking old, dude. Like I'm really old, and that was years ago. And it's I think about how health has been going lately. Not good. Again, I talk about recently. I was in Japan again, and I basically spent like 6 weeks in bed. Besides going out for like a walk, pretty much just at night. And even now, again, health has been really so fatigued that it's scary how fatigued I am. Like I was able to go for a pretty good walk today, but I mean, the past few days before this, I was pretty much in bed almost the entire time. So, excuse me. With that said, sorry, I ate dinner. I guess I'm going to talk about 20 years of being in and out of the hospital and doing this shit. And actually, it's longer than that because I've been on disability since 2003, which a lot of people probably don't even realize. Like when I was winning all those tournaments, I was on disability. My health was already really bad. So I guess a story of how I got sick, my health in general throughout all these years. So, before 2003, I've said before that, and I can even go back and look. Well, I guess I don't know if I could go back and look now. I'd have to go find it or something. It's probably saved somewhere. But at the time, when I first realized just how sick I was, I could go back and look at stuff like Live Journal, Zanga. We had a thing called Zanga. I don't even know if they have a thing called Live Journal anymore, but there's like Zanga, Live Journals, online journals. And I can see that I was writing about, man, I'm really sick lately. Something's going on, right? And I remember even when I would randomly like play video games with like, because again, I couldn't even drive till like after reload. But, I remember when friends would come over to play video games, I remember that I would be the one falling asleep. You know what I mean? Which is weird because you would think that a kid, you should have like tons and tons of energy. And admittedly, of course, after I got kicked out of school, left out of school, however you want to describe it, I had to get a job. And so I was working full time and all this kind of stuff. And so I did have a full time job and, I had to walk to work and I don't remember exactly how much. Probably I had to walk probably, I don't know how far away. Maybe it was a mile, maybe 2 miles to work all the time. And so, I was a pretty active person, also with trying to work out. I mean, I'm not as like health conscious as I am now, but I was still trying to stay in shape, and whatever the case, you know what I mean. So I guess I had put it off that maybe I was just sick because I was doing so much. I had a full time job, ever since I was young, because you get kicked out of school, you gotta get a job to support yourself. Um, and I had to walk to work. I couldn't drive to work, so I was walking a mile or 2 miles to work every day, and not every day, but and walking a mile or two home, and even when I'd want to go, whatever the case, you know what I mean. And definitely, there's times that I remember where I was abnormally sick. I've told the story before when I first realized that I could play video games, or I was allowed to enter tournaments. I entered that one tournament, and right away I got second, and I had beaten everybody besides the guy who was considered the second best in Midwest at Street Fighter at the time, right? And the tournament right after that was that one Midwest Championships. And I got this, like I said, for video game people that are watching this. And I remember I was just demolishing people in casual. But, tournaments are very slow and everything like that. And as that day was going on, the tournament started, I was getting really sick. And I ended up, by the time the tournament started, I was already fucked up and I was in the corner on like the Daytona USA machine. And I was really fucked up. And of course, the drama with the video game community is they had no idea that I was already having health problems at that time. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that Final Showdown kid, you know what I mean? Oh, he thought he was so good because he was beating everybody in casual, but then by the time once the tournament started, he lost, and so he was crying in the corner. Like, I was really fucked up, and I missed a week of work, and you know they had said something like I had a kidney stone, I guess, but I don't actually ever remember peeing out the kidney stone. But I was fucked up for like a week and had a lot of pain. And so the point is, I did have instances of being really like abnormally sick, even when I was young, and getting really tired. And of course, you would think that, a kid, again, people would come over to play video games and I'd be the one falling asleep. Sorry, piece of hair. Still shedding long COVID. Year and a half later, dude. I'm telling you, fuck me. Anyway, and in 2003, I remember I've told the story that I had that one guy, he moved in with me, Joel or whatever. And of course, our personalities, we're both kind of go to the beat of our own drum. You know what I mean? And so I'm not someone that like hangs out if I don't want to hang out anyway. But I remember he lived with me for 3, 4 months, whatever it was, and we basically never even hung out once because my health, even in 2003, was already getting so bad. I talk about people coming over to play video games that I was, just in bed all the time. Like I had no energy. And I was getting these really bad, which, now they say are cluster headaches with severe migraines and everything, chronic migraines. I was getting these really, really bad migraines, cluster headaches, right? You know what I mean? Well, at the time they were calling them just severe migraines, but cluster headaches, most painful condition known to man, some people say, right? And I had actually, I was winning some of these tournaments pretty fucked up, like in and out, getting sick, all this kind of shit, dude. And I was starting to get really bad headaches, all this kind of shit. And it was eventually I went to the doctor, and again, who knows how long I was sick. I was probably sick for a very long time. Once they started checking me, like, oh shit, your thyroid is really fucked up. You need to do radiation, all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And I mean, that's where pretty much everything went downhill. It just is, everything, went downhill very quickly, and of course now when we think about some of the problems I'm having now with my thyroid seemingly growing back, I remember, and I've told the story before, one of the reasons, and if you go back and look, I was wearing a hat for like 2 years waiting for my hair to grow back. Like after I did radiation, it was not something like, oh, you're better, right? Like I was one of those people that, oh man, I started developing then all these like stomach symptoms, other autoimmune diseases, which they did not tell me at the time that I was actually testing positive for, which we'll get into. But, I was getting really fucked up. And they're just like, oh, you just have irritable bowel syndrome. They didn't tell me that I had actually tested positive for Crohn's disease after that. I was getting like weird tests. Like I had already tested positive for osteopenia somehow. All these bulging discs. I had like nerve damage and all this kind of stuff. Like I was fucked up. And the thyroid thing, they had told me that when they did the thyroid stuff, I don't remember the exact phrasing that they did, but they said something basically like, oh, there's a little bit of your thyroid left when we gave you the radiation. So you're just going to be a little bit sicker longer than normal, and it's going to be like a slow burn. I feel like they said. Now, of course, as we know now, it would seemingly seem to be that my thyroid has actually been growing back this entire time. And, because they would be like, oh, well, you still have all the antibodies, for your thyroid. But you know what I mean? Don't worry, it's not there, so it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Because it's gone. Now, of course, we know that it actually somehow has grown back, which entirely, basically, which is not supposed to do. You know what I mean? So I've been doing cancer doctor stuff about this, all this crap now. But and that's why, like even going back, like I said, it took me 2 years just because that my thyroid was over. It was just fluctuating so extremely for like years. You know what I mean? They're just like, oh, well, that's just going to happen because we gave you this radiation and there was a piece of it left, but don't worry, it's just eventually going to burn itself out. You're just going to have to be fucked up for a while. I don't think it's fucked up, but, and anyway, so developing lots of autoimmune diseases and, I was puking blood for a while. I just had so many different things. I ended up having surgery because it's nerve damage down my neck, all down my hands. I was really, really fucked up. I'm still fucked up, right? And I'm trying to think of other things like stand out to me. Of course, it was about a couple years into being sick that, again, at first they were just saying that I have, severe migraines, but they eventually changed it to, cluster headaches with, severe migraines, chronic migraines. And a couple years into it, like my face actually started to go numb. And, like I said, you can always see, I do get a droopy eye and my face on the left side starts to randomly sag sometimes. And that's just something that happened a couple years into it. Like the headache just became a permanent headache in my face, basically going down my body. And it just depends on how bad it is that day. But, of course, a big thing that happened was I was getting so bad, and I've said this before, it's crazy now. I was getting so bad, my health was deteriorating so bad for a while that, I was actually thinking about getting a handicap sticker, which is, thank God I didn't do that. But, I remember even trying to go to school, back to college for a little bit. And I was thinking about getting a handicap sticker because I was so fucked up. And it was becoming so difficult to do anything. And, in 2008, or it might have been a little bit before 2008, I don't remember exactly when I was given the medicine, but I remember when I was in the hospital. But, I had gotten this prostatitis. And if you've ever watched the C. diff video, they gave me the ciprofloxacin, which is now has a black label on it. And at the time, it didn't have a black label on the bottom. They were giving it to me, and they were like, "Oh, don't worry, it's fine. You have don't worry if it's giving you more diarrhea. You have diarrhea all the time anyway." Which, of course, you know what I mean. I was never even told that I had tested positive for Crohn's disease. You know what I mean. I was only told that I ever had irritable bowel syndrome. But and I was given the poop samples. I'm like, man, dude, my poop is not good. And my doctors, they basically let me deteriorate to I could no longer move. And, my brother ended up taking me to the hospital one day. And he was like, oh, we were not supposed to let you out. When you were coming to the hospital, you've actually been testing positive for C. diff this whole time. You could die. This is like not good. And that was... 2008, I've talked about that. That was not a good situation. And the medicine they give you for C. diff is Flagyl, which I still had permanent side effects to this day after taking that. And C. diff was awful. You know what I mean? I was collapsing even 6 months after that. After I got out of the hospital, I was still collapsing 6 months after that. And it was a year before I could even attempt to try to work out again. And, that's terrible because, you're dying. Well, I guess, if you've never been dying, you probably don't know what it's like. But, you're like going like delusional. I was so fucked up. Like, basically you would like pass out and you would only wake up because of like the nightmare from like the flagell. It like fucks up your like brain, you know? And so basically you're like almost like I said to the point of like you're becoming like delusional because your body's like killing itself, right? You know what I mean? So you're like, it's basically almost like you're like in and out of conscious. Like you're really fucked up. You know what I mean? And it took me a long time before I could even eat a big meal. A big meal, a big meal. Like I said, I mean, after C. diff, I mean, I think it took years before I could even eat, even attempt to eat like a box of like cheese bread, just to get some like just like a thing of cheese bread, like at a pizza place. Right? Now my health, I can't even tell you last time I tried to eat a thing of cheese bread because I'm so fucking health conscious. But I remember after that, trying to eat like cheese bread. It sticks out to me trying to eat cheese bread again, and I'm like I can't digest cheese bread. It's just like I couldn't do it. My body is just so fucked up. But in 2008, something that happened was doctors giving me my will and everything like that. Is I started seeing this doctor named Dr. Pareto, who I guess is now a pretty famous doctor. You know what I mean? Because I've seen other doctors that when they've heard that he was my doctor, they're like, "You knew Dr. Pareto?" So he must have some kind of clout in the medical community because I've been told many times throughout the years that doctors will be like, "Well, you knew Dr. Pareto? He was your doctor?" You know what I mean? So, but whatever the case, after I had C. diff, it was like a bomb in my body. Like, and I had started seeing this Dr. Pareto, and he's like, he was telling me when I first saw him, and he's like, he's like, Clayton, have you ever actually looked at your medical record? And I'm like, no. And he's like, do you know the test, what it says that you have? And so, it was terrible. And, I guess when you're a kid, getting sick, I never really questioned my doctors. They're like, oh, yeah, you have thyroid stuff. Of course, I do the radiation and, I had to have surgery. And, of course, I thought it was weird that I have bulging disc and degenerative disc disease as a kid, osteopenia, but I never really like asked about it. And, they had done a colonoscopy, but they just said irritable bowel syndrome. And he's like, do you know you actually did test positive for Crohn's disease? And I'm like, no, they said I didn't. And he's like, no, that's actually not what it said. And he's like, you don't have like normal liver tests? You don't have normal platelets, all this kind of stuff. And it became a really bad situation because basically, you know, I had found out my health was so fucked up, even right when I first got sick, that my doctors were trying to explain it that I must be drinking, all this other kind of weird shit to be explained in my tests. And of course, I had that disability thing, and you didn't make much money. I got like $100,000 from it or something, whatever the exact amount was now. And of course, if I lived in another state, you know, I guess I could have got more money. And of course, if I would have had a real job at the time I got sick, because they say how a lot of these malpractice things work. And so basically, the things I didn't really get much money for being sick either. You know what I mean? For getting fucked up. But that was a bad situation. And after C. diff, they're like, I had like liver scarring, I had like pancreas problems. I tested positive for Lyme's disease. I tested positive for some of things like, and he's like, your doctor said you have Raynaud's. It's like, this isn't Raynaud's. Like, he's like, Clayton, you got lupus. This isn't Raynaud's. This is lupus. Like, and it was just such a, and yeah, my doctors, they fucked me, man. And again, it's one of those things that, I mean, maybe you could say, oh, well, you should be looking at your health record, but I guess you're a kid and you just, I had never really thought about asking to look at all my blood tests or anything like that because it just didn't really occur to me, you know. And of course, the other doctor, and liver problems. They said at one point they said I had primary biliary cirrhosis. And there's like, oh no, no, now it's changed. It looks like you have fatty liver. Who knows? And of course, it's such a clusterfuck because the doctors don't want to say like, oh, you developed all these autoimmune diseases because of radiation, because then we would be at fault. So we're kind of like, eh. And oh, you got C. diff. You know what I mean? Well, we don't want to say all the problems are because you had C. diff too, which like blew up a bomb in your fucking body. You know, and just so many shitty things, right? But then after that, of course, health things that I can think of, that epididymitis, that was terrible. Um, geez, I tested positive for diffuse scleroderma, which is, these doctors were offering me Cellcept for that at one point, and I'm like, oh god, organ transplant medicine, fuck this, you know. Um, but I had that collapse, the blood clot thing. And of course, after the collapse, I've been like stupider too. Like that, that really fucked me up. You know what I mean? Like my brain just, isn't as good as it used to be after that. Um, and then of course, even this testosterone thing. Who knows? Who knows exactly how long I've even had low testosterone? I mean, the oldest test that I could even find was even when I was like a teenager. It said like my testosterone was like 400 or something. Which why would your testosterone be 400 when you're like a teenager, right? I don't remember seeing a free testosterone offhand, but I remember seeing that. I'm like, man, maybe I've had testosterone problems for a long time. Who knows? And that's been such a big hassle because eventually, and of course, like the tumors. You know what I mean? Got that tumor shit. Like the tumor shit was funny because I remember, oh my God, I remember I found the tumor when I had the epididymitis because I was in so much pain. And then I'm like, oh shit, there's like a lump. And I remember my brother was there too. And they're like, oh, Clayton, you don't have another health problem. Come on. I remember, and I'm like, no, dude, I got a lump too. And the doctor's like, you don't. And he was like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like, because you could feel it. And he was like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like, he was like, whoa. He's like, I can feel it. He's like, okay, you need to see another doctor immediately. So that was shitty. Um, so yeah, and even the testosterone thing, when I think about that now, because doing that, I just keep trying to put it off, you know what I mean? But even now that I've been able to raise my total testosterone higher, my free testosterone never rises. But free testosterone still sucks, and the sex hormone binding goblin is high. And even when I saw the cancer doctor, because they're like, man, you've been able to raise your testosterone pretty consistently, but your free testosterone is bad. And the cancer doctor's like, oh yeah, because you got your liver problems, right? And of course, like I said, when I made that video recently, it's like, because the doctors, it's like almost like they can't exactly admit that they fucked me up, and they're like, oh yeah, because your liver. She's just like, yeah, your liver, yeah, that's why. So it's like maybe there's some sort of like liver dysfunction left from when, like I said, at one point I was dying from primary biliary cirrhosis, and I had to do a liver biopsy. Oh, you got scarring of your liver. Like, oh no, wait, we don't think it's that right now. Maybe it's just fucking fatty liver disease. Maybe it's that. It looks like, so it's just so much fucking shit, dude. You know, just God, I remember going to the hospital. I don't remember what year it was, and I remember it was. I think I was going because I was testing positive for Lyme's disease. Again, it's crazy how much shit. And I think I had to see. I think I saw infectious disease doctors for that. And around that time, because again, I had tested positive for so many things And I actually had like the police, like the security stop me. And they're like, "Are you actually Clayton Chapman?" And like even the doctor's like, "You're Clayton Chapman?" He's like, "I'm just surprised that you look like this because your health record is insane." You know what I mean? And so I had to explain to him the story, and he's like, "Oh, hmm." And again, the doctors are kind of like, "Shit, well, we can't say that, maybe this is because of, we fucked you up, dude. We fucked you up, dude." Like, you know, of course, you go to different hospitals, go to Meadow. And I tried to go to different hospitals. I went to Cleveland Clinic, but, that's far away. And I actually wasn't really impressed with Cleveland Clinic. I didn't think it was anything special going there. And I tried going to other hospitals, but every hospital's like, they're like, "Yo, Clayton," they're like, "Dude," and they were, they're kind of nice about it and kind of nice about it, but they're like, "Yo, dude," they're like, "We hate to break it to you." Then they're like, "But U of M is the best hospital in Michigan, and you are so fucked up." You know what I mean? Like, you like your kind of case is very extreme. You know what I mean? So first of all, we don't want to deal with something else that a hospital did to you, let alone that it is kind of weird. Like I will say, like I've said before that I've tried going to other hospitals and I'm like, yeah, but dude, they fucked me. You know what I mean? And like, come on, like you got to do something, right? And I will say, I remember when I tried going to Henry Ford Hospital for a while. I feel like they do have hotter nurses there, but I remember that I was going to Henry Ford when they found the other tumor. When they found, I shouldn't even say they found the tumor because I fucking found it, and that was frightening because I remember I was going to Henry Ford and just because the doctor's like, he's like, "No, there's no way you have another health problem." And to see the doctor he was like, "Oh, geez, come here, let me see." And he's like, "Oh, fuck." And, my brother was in there. He's like, "Oh, shit." He's like, "This is huge. You need to see another doctor immediately, you know?" And, that doesn't really give you confidence, right? I don't have confidence in any doctor, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, so all the stuff going on now, and I was just even thinking, even at the cancer doctor, we're talking about the blood stuff and maybe doing a bone marrow biopsy in like, 6 months, or I guess less than 6 months now, because I saw her maybe a few weeks ago, whatever it was, and see what's going on. And, I got all these other things. And, it's just crazy that, even like this APS, like, say that, 'cause again, I've posted my health record on here, my APS is like, all those blood tests right now are like maybe the worst it's been since I was dying, and it's funny. You can just look up online. You can get disability just for fucking APS, dude. I mean, it's fucking crazy, dude. Like, and I was at the cancer doctor. I'm here, like, man, I can't believe I'm like still doing this shit. And it's just like just one disease you can get, like just one of these things that I have, you can get disability for. And I got like it all, right? And it sucks because it's getting really, getting long COVID has really been like a fucking, Sjogren's. Oh yeah, and that's another fucking thing. Yeah, the eye thing is crazy too. I mean, God, I forget how much crazy shit. I mean, I still remember, again, I saw the Dr. Pareto, and he's like, "Have you ever actually had your eyes checked?" And I'm like, "Well, I tell the doctors, that I think I'm losing my sight." You know what I mean? And he's like, "We need to like do a Schimmer's test and test you for Sjogren's and all this kind of stuff like immediately." And immediately, I had like zero tears in my eyes, and he's like, "Yeah, you have zero tears in like each eye." And I always think that who knows, maybe I wouldn't even need glasses. Maybe I wouldn't need glasses if my doctors just would have, and like it's like such a simple test. They just like put like a little thing in your eye and they just to like see how many tears you make. And he's like, "Dude, you make zero tears in your eyes, like zero." And it's like you need to start taking medicine immediately. Like, who knows? Maybe my eyes would not be. I'm wearing contacts now, but even then, these contacts, I got to wear special contacts. Because regular contacts won't do anything for me because of my eyes. But who knows if maybe I wouldn't. My eyes wouldn't have even been because since and actually, yeah, I mean that's kind of crazy if you think about it. Since that would have been. I don't exactly remember. Probably I don't exactly remember when I started taking the restasis and everything for my eyes. Hmm, let's say 2009. So 2009, 15 years. There hasn't been much change. I don't think to my eyes in like 15 years. They start giving you like the Lovaza and like the restasis and like so it's like who knows? Maybe my eyes wouldn't have like gotten fucked up those few years. You know what I mean? A few years. I guess it would have been. Well, I don't remember exactly when my eyes started getting fucked up. But whatever the case, who knows? Because I had tried to find, can you find the health record? Because I was going to doctors, and I'm like, man, my eyes are getting blurry. It's kind of hard to see. They're like, oh, your eyes are just getting worse. You're getting older. You're 18. You're getting old. You need glasses now. Okay, I guess, right? Like, who knows what? Who knows? I mean, if anything, you think about that, you're like, wow, dude, it's kind of like the medical system fucked me, right? And I just think I got so much shit, and I've been used in medical studies or medical presentations. Don't get used in medical studies because I have too much shit, but they've used me in medical presentations actually sometimes, for like the cluster headaches because I have them so severe, So I gotta, yeah, sure, sign away my life. Yeah, use me for it. That's fine. I don't really get anything for it, but but again, just I'm like getting checked. I'm like this cancer doctor, and like I look at like my, she's like, oh, your APS, all these stuff is like really positive. You're taking your medicine, right? You need to be careful, And I'm like, yes, and I just like think about that, and I'm like, it's just funny. Like I'm just like, and she's like, yeah, maybe bone marrow biopsy in about 6 months or something. We'll see. Let's talk about that again. I'm just like, just one of these fucking things you can get disability for. I have so bad, dude. And it's just like, anyway, the fatigue is so bad, dude. It's just it's insane how tired I am, and it's like it's scary. Like I'm glad I was able to go. I was able to go for a pretty good walk today, but I spent basically the past other 3 days in bed, though, pretty much almost completely. Besides getting up, try to do a little bit of stuff, but the fatigue has always been so bad. And it's getting so bad, it's getting scary. And I think, do I need to finally just do this testosterone? But then, I think, but maybe the fact that this liver thing, maybe that means there really is still this, lupus fucking me up. Maybe it's like causing some liver dysfunction. Maybe it's the scleroderma. Maybe it's like left over from the radiation, all this kind of shit. Who knows, right? And it's just like, of course, I don't want to lose my hair from doing testosterone, but, I just, of course, geez, look at fucking back. It was so many years ago. Fuck, dude. I mean, I fucking had the year before Pokemon Go. My year was taking a turn. My health was taking a turn for the worse again. 4 months basically couldn't walk. Was doing very little walking for about 4 months, just collapsing on and off. And I always like say this, like people don't even realize like talk about C diff when you're dying, all this other kind of stuff. Like people don't even realize I've been so sick before in my life at different points. You might think like maybe like to a nerd watching this, like a nerd might be like, oh man, I can't wait. I sure do hope I have sex with a girl. Like you know what I mean? And it's like, bro, when you are dying, when you have been as sick as I've been, I've had times I don't even know if I'll ever be able to even like touch myself again. You are so fucked up. Like I don't even know if I'll ever be able to even masturbate again. Like in that 4 months I had, again, this year before Pokemon Go, I was so completely fucked up, dude. I could barely, I was fucked up, dude. Like my health was getting so bad again for a while. I was like, I don't even know if I'll ever be able to masturbate again. That's how fucked up I was. I was just, I don't know, man. Just Oh boy, this video's already 30 minutes. I don't even know if I want to complain anymore. But anyway, I was just thinking, man, 20 years in and out of the hospital. It's fucking crazy, dude. Can you, like, there's people that probably watch my channel that haven't even been in the hospital as long as I've been. Do you know when I was out today walking today and I put the story on my YouTube? God, I don't know. I must have been looking pretty cool today because I had fucking, dude, I had like 3 groups of kids, 4 groups of girls, and just one single girl. Basically, I don't know. I had a lot of people coming up to me today. I thought I looked pretty cool, right? That one video. I don't know. Those one kid said I looked like Jared. Well, actually, a couple. Actually, I don't know how many kids you would say said it, but they all seem to say it. So I guess it was a lot. But man, they were trying to say I looked like Jeremy Fragrance, or they thought it was, which I kind of feel is like kind of insulting. But the point is, like, I don't know, man. I got these people coming up to me, and I'm like, oh man, I'm like talking to cancer doctor, all this kind of shit, dude. We're trying to figure out what am I gonna do about my fucking thyroid growing back. People still don't know what to do about that, And I got these like kids coming up to me. It's like, man, I've been in the hospital longer than you've been fucking alive, dude. And it's just shit is crazy. I don't know. Anyway, that's me ranting for a long time. And if you like the videos, like, subscribe, comment, share, support the channel if you want. I appreciate it. Thanks. The end.